Hey, today we're taking this $3.99 rug from IKEA and turning it into a $1 million pillow. Let's make it. Okay, so what we need is a sewing machine and some fabric. And if you've never sewed before, don't let it intimidate you. I would say 75% of sewing is a straight line, especially when it comes to home decor. I am using a really cheap rug from IKEA. It was $3.99, comes in lots of different colors. And I like it because of the texture. I like the fringe, and it's a nice thick fabric, which is going to work out really well for a pillow. You could use a tablecloth, placemats, you could use curtains, anything that you have laying around that might be extra and you don't use anymore, or you can go to thrift stores and see what's there. So this is one rug folded in half, and I could get one really big rug out of this, or I could cut it in half and get two. I'm going to take scissors and cut it right along the middle, and I'm going to trim off some excess so I have two small little pillows that I could use for my dining room chairs. So this is a look at the pillow that I'm wanting to make, and since I want French on both sides, I'm going to take this top layer and I'm going to flip it. I'm going to line up the edges so they're right next to each other minus the fringe, and eventually I'm going to take my sewing machine and sew along this line and that line. And I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch gap. That way I can fold this part back. So I have my sewing machine set up with a straight stitch. I'm using a little bit bigger stitch because I have thicker fabric. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my sewing machine right there. So not right where the fringe starts. And I'm going to take that line all the way down the edge and again stop where the fringe would start, because eventually I'm going to be folding that back. Whenever you're starting your line, make sure you do a back stitch and be a little bit careful as you're going through the thicker fabric. You might want to manually pull it through so it doesn't break the needle. You do the same thing on the other side. I've gone along both edges with a straight stitch and stopped right where the fringe starts. And since both sides are open, I'm going to take this and turn it inside out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and since I didn't bring it all the way to the top, I can have that little extra, and I'm going to fold that extra under, just like that, right where the fringe starts. And now I'm going to sew another line. This is going to be pretty thick, so you might have to manually start the sewing machine right along that big part of the fabric, and then it'll get a little bit easier as you go on. So be very careful, take it slow. I'm going to do this side, and then I'm going to do that side, but I'm not going to go all the way up because I need a little bit opening to put some filling in. Since I didn't sew all the way to the edge, that gives me enough room to fold this fabric under to finish off that edge. And when you guys are going along this big part right here, take it really, really slow. You'll probably have to feed it manually. Otherwise your needle might break and you might go through your finger. Who knows? That could be the most exciting part of your day though. I followed that step for both sides, but on the second time I left a little opening, so I didn't sew all the way through, and this opening is going to allow me to take my filling, and this is just left over for some cushions that I had. You guys could actually cut up t-shirt fabric and stuff that in there. So you want to stuff it to whatever fluffiness you want. The fuller it is, it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult to sew it shut. And since I don't want these really full, I'm going to be able to sew it with a sewing machine, but you might have to take just a needle and thread and sew it together. And that's how you make a pillow out of a rug. I hope you guys liked watching. You can find the link to my Instagram and my About Me page. I'll see you next time. Bye.